So, Scott, talk to us. New Orleans Saints. So tell us how all this came about. So you started coaching when you got done playing. So you played 7 years in the NFL, right?
Played seven, right place at the right time for 7 years. Basically, a lot of good people or whatever. And then, long story short, is I did a gig at Wisconsin as an analyst. So my offensive coordinator and quarterback coach was Paul Christ.
Yep.
And then he ended up becoming the head coach at Wisconsin. So I was like, hey, thinking about this coaching thing, you got any advice for me? And he's like, well, if it ever interests you, like, I got an analyst job where you kind of get your feet wet part-time. I was like, hell yeah, that's perfect. So I did that for a year. I'd always stayed in touch with Coach McCarthy from the playing days, stayed in touch with him. And then when he got the Dallas job, he hit me up and was like, hey, like, pretty much all my spots are filled, but I do got one, like, quality control / like ops job if you want to get your foot in the door at this level. I was like, hell yeah. Like, we had just had our first daughter, so we were getting ready to get a house. So the timing was perfect. So we went down there in 2020. And, like, the crazy part about that is, like, I take this job and you're doing, like, ops stuff, like helping out with practice schedules, stuff I'd never done. Like, you're on Excel multiple hours a day. And then this crazy thing called COVID comes along and you're like, oh, great. Like, not only is it first year doing operations stuff, I have no clue what I'm doing. Now you've got, like, memos coming into the league on the hour, like tweaking rules. So needless to say, that year was hell, but you also grow a lot from it. That was back in 2020, and now I'm first year with the Saints, so year 6 of coaching.
And when you got to Dallas, well, first of all, when you took the job in Dallas with Mike McCarthy, like, I was shocked 0%. Like, I always knew that you had that work ethic, that mindset of, like, you loved breaking down the game, you loved the film room, you loved everything about it. So, like, it didn't surprise me at all that you went into coaching. I was like, well, this guy's going to end up being a really, really great coach. And then when you went down to Dallas, I believe Kellen Moore was already there. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So Kellen's a year younger than me. Obviously, we knew each other just from the college football circuit or whatever, but was crossed over with Kellen for my first 3 years, and actually Doug Nussmeier as well. So was with those three guys for 3 years in Dallas. And then when Kellen got the job here, he offered to me. We'd obviously stayed in touch. We have a lot in common, just age, where we are in life with families and football and whatnot. So, so reunited with him and Nuss, and it's been a really good thing so far. I mean, it's the honeymoon phase. That's how this thing works right now. So everything's sweet right now. We haven't lost. We're 0-0.
There we go.
That's right. Scott, in your playing days, you had a chance to really be around some all-time quarterbacks, and you start your career with Phillip Rivers there in San Diego, and then you go to Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers, and Flynn's obviously there with you in Green Bay, and then you get to Indy and Andrew Luck's there. Like, when you're around guys like that, is there things that you picked up that when you became a quarterback coach, when you became a leader of that room, like, you kind of implement some of those things that you learned from being around some of the best quarterbacks?
Dude, you brought up I think about that all the time. And, like, that's one tangible thing I try to share with my quarterbacks. Like, I was lucky to play 7 years, but, didn't play a whole lot, did way more standing on the sidelines than playing. So, but, like, what I do is, like, man, one thing I am good at is I'm really good at observing. So I got to observe, like you said, like, 2 Hall of Famers. Luck was on the fast track to potentially be a Hall of Famer. Like, I was gifted this opportunity to be around a lot of really good football players, and Dak as well was the MVP runner-up 2 years ago. So, like, you get to see a lot of these different styles, and, like, you see what's similar and what's different between the guys, and that's super valuable to draw on and, like, share those experiences with. I think there's a natural draw when you're a young quarterback to, like, oh, how do the greats do? Like, how did Aaron Rodgers do things? And it's fun to be able to share some of the things that you observed about how they were. And, like, speaking to that point, that was one thing when my first 2 years was in San Francisco. My rookie year was the same rookie year as Colin Kaepernick. They drafted him in the second round.
Oh, yeah.
So they had Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. And then I was the undrafted guy after I got cut in San Diego. And then, so we go to the Super Bowl the second year, and then I get cut, go to Green Bay. And, like, the one thing I learned from Matt and Aaron, I was going to share this, like, just because it was huge for my career, is like, you can still have fun and joke around playing the game and still be productive. Sometimes there's a stigma when you're a quarterback. You got to be serious all the time, and like you're the captain of the ship, and you are, but you can still have a great time doing it. And like, felt like I played the best football of my career there because I was loose and having fun and enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's one stigma that gets put on the quarterback position. You got to be serious, first one in, first one out, which is all true. You have to be able to like turn it on and off.
You got to be relatable to your teammates.
You got to be. I mean, I was around so many greats, just like Scott's talking about, and there's no one way to skin a cat. There's greats that did it that way. There's greats that didn't. But Scott, you bring up like such a good, valuable point from like a backup perspective, because you have to be able to observe, because you don't get the reps. So if you can't observe and apply what you're seeing the great ones do or the person in front of you do, you don't have a chance to make it. And of course, you had a 7-year NFL career, so you were really good at doing that and being able to implement and taking advantage of your spot. So from your observation, being able to observe and apply, I got to think it helps you from the coaching level, because you get to observe and you're applying it in like a teaching way now. So you're observing like what makes people good, what works, the footwork, the tone of voice, what we're doing. Like, so those are all things you had to do to maintain a job in the NFL, but now you get to do it and teach and be relatable to players. So I guess what is your, like, if you had to pick like one thing that you are, when your quarterbacks, talk about Scott Tolzien, like what is one thing that you like to implement with them or put on them and give them something to teach every single day?
That's a great question, first of all. And I think like one thing, that there's a feel to this position, right? It's the most interesting position in all sports, all the main four sports. Like, I'm no different. I do draft evals and guys too, and it's just it's a total inexact science on which guys pan out and which guys do and don't. But so like, I think there is an element of, I think it helps having played the position, just knowing, okay, what's not enough coaching and what's over coaching. Like, there's totally a balance there, because you can't be a robot playing the position, but yet there is a discipline to the position that needs to be adhered to. And like, I do believe in like having disciplined footwork. Like, that's a big thing for me. Some of it comes too because that's how I had to play the game, so there's a natural bias there. Like, I didn't have the biggest arm, so you had to be right with your feet so that things synced up on time. I think that's probably one of the things I'm a little bit of a stickler on is footwork, but yet, there's like, as you know, Matt, like there's feels to, how you throw a 20-yard dig versus how I throw a 20-yard dig. Like, there is variation in your feet. And so you got to be able to work with your quarterbacks too, and allow for that variation. But, those are some of the things, like, hey, quarterback being able, like, you can kind of weed out the BS in a meeting room when they're like, hey, I didn't see this guy. Well, sometimes that is real. Like, the fans from the sky or from the TV camera might see a shallow cross running wide open, but they didn't realize that, like, the 3 technique overset and was getting edged, and the quarterback really didn't have vision to him for that split second that he was going through his regression. And I think that's all relevant stuff.
Scott, one of the things that, we've talked about with the quarterback room that you're going to be leading there, it's obviously a young quarterback room. You got a rookie and you got a second-year player. You got a third-year player. You don't have like a 10-year player in there, which, most of us, when we've been in these rooms with quarterbacks, there's always like one older guy. So when you have a younger room like that, do you change anything that you go about, like in the day-to-day? Like, is there anything that's different? You just came where you were coaching Dak Prescott, and Dak, now you look up and he's certainly a veteran in the NFL. Anything different when you got a young quarterback room?
I think you do teach the 101 level first, and that's not a bad thing. The worst thing in this game is when things are assumed. The old adage, assume makes an ass out of you and me, and like, I do think there's truth to that. So if anything, like, you're just teaching stuff at the 101 level. It's just nothing's assumed, and then it goes hand in hand with the fact that we're a first year operation. So like, I'm learning stuff too on the fly, right? So I tell the quarterbacks all the time, like, the best thing we can do is all have dialogue. There's nothing worse than a quiet room, because I really feel like there are no dumb questions. Like, the question that you might have actually might be a question that I have as a coach, you know? And the best questions always come through the quarterbacks anyways. Like when you're in a staff meeting, there's stuff that you don't think about until a quarterback mentions it. It's like, oh yeah, like, let's find an answer, or maybe there is a simpler way to do this thing. And so I'm just like 101 level, but let's have dialogue and let's mold this thing how we want to.
All right, Scott. We actually have like a real bona fide like QB competition happen. So I really just kind of want you to break down like the player, how they've responded to OTAs, getting ready for mini camp next week. Like, I don't want to ask you about like the competition and where they're at on anything, but like just tell me about you got the young guy. Shuck just got drafted. Rattler coming off of a year where he played a lot, had some unfair disadvantages that he dealt with during that, but showed some moments. Like, how are those guys responding to this competition, and kind of like what's their rotation like? I mean, quarterback competitions could be so different from team to team, and the head coach's philosophy. Like,
sure, these guys they've all been awesome to start. Yeah, I really appreciated their approach and just who they are as teammates. It's been really natural. So, and then at the same time, like, we don't have the pads on right now, so we're like, if you just know everything changes when that comes on. So like, you're quick to be like, hey, let's not overanalyze things right now. Let's truly develop guys. I think that's where we're at right now, and I love that part about it. Like, let's just develop guys, and let's not get caught up in the competition of it. Let's just put our best foot forward, coaching to our best ability, and let things marinate, rather than making abrupt, impulsive decisions. But like they've all handled it like champs, and it's been a really fun group to be around. I've appreciated that from them.
Yeah, and the development part is it can be challenging. It can be tricky. I mean, it's a numbers game too when you're trying to develop and actually have some sort of competition of young quarterbacks, because like you only get so many reps in practice. So the way a coaching staff can handle that from a development standpoint is tricky, and there's not like one way to skin that cat either. But
totally. Hey, were you a part of like, I know Coach McCarthy always used to talk about quarterback school, and like that was a foreign concept to us, because like I was part of the new CBA, and it's like it's totally changed the development of the league. But like, I've heard stories about how
3 QB schools.
Yeah, that's when was that? Back in like March?
So I was it was off season right before like OTA started, and it was tough. It was a tough workout.
Yeah.
Like when I train quarterbacks every now and then, like I put them through what that QB school used to be, which is awesome. But yeah, hey Scott, we really do, man. We really appreciate your time. We know you're busy, especially this time. Louisiana, we got a good one here. We got a good coaching staff, a lot to be excited about. Scott, thank you for your time, buddy.
Appreciate you guys having me.